Research. This is an ordinary D racing snaffle. We know of no other bit that has even come close to being able to force a horse to turn and guide like a D racing snaffle. We hold our reins coordinated style, 3 fingers between the left side and the right side. As you turn the horse's head, you pull that left rein, slide your hand there, take a hold of the right rein, and neck rein slightly with the left or bearing rein. Always any force that goes on the bit should go on the side that you're turning the horse to. It's called the leading rein because you kind of lead the horse's head around. We don't think a snaffle bit is complete in itself. And so we use a running martingale to prevent us from pulling on the horse's mouth too high. We want our running martingales to be handy for their adjustment. And so this is the way we've designed them, with the D-ring down about 6 inches below the center of the breast collar. In adjustment, the top of the martingale ring, we use it to where it is parallel to the top of the horse's shoulder blades. Not his withers, but his shoulder blades. When the horse raises his head high, you can see how the running martingale pulls on the bars of the horse's mouth, and that would make him put his head down. Now here's a colt that's had a lot of hackamore training out in California, but they didn't get very much done with him, so they brought him back to our ranch in Colorado, and here's 15-year-old Gary Foreman getting on this black colt for the first time. Into a left lead. Colt's never had a snaffle bit on him before. When we talk about snaffle, this means no leverage. It's a non-leverage bit. So he bends him around on the leading rein, turns him back toward the lead, gets his left lead off. He rolls the colt back, comes out right lead, hits the colt in the tail with his heavy bat to make the horse get the habit of keeping his tail down. Same thing again. Notice how he stops the colt by turning him around. Lead here. Now he's going to try to do a flying change of lead. This colt had never done a flying change before. Watch the crazy riding that he does. Watch him lean to the left side when he changes the horse's leads going to the right. And he doesn't lean the way the horse is turning. This is a study of nature's laws on riding and guiding horses. Here he's trying to stay on that left side, but he's having to pull so hard he can't quite do it. But watch him go to the right side as he turns the colt, and the colt does beautiful flying changes of leads. Stops him again by turning him around.
Although you can't see it, he touches the colt with his left foot. Watch him, he just touch the horse with his left foot.
Watch
the colt has changed leads.
Stay out, away from the way he's going with his weight,
trigger.
And the colt changes leads. We don't know why, but they just seem to trigger by foot.
Here, which again, you can't
under these circumstances, so much easier than trying to use your reins to get it done.
He leans out to the right. And he gets that left lead changed.
Colt ends up nice and quiet. Here's a colt ridden by Pete McAleenan. Colt's been ridden 8 times, or this is the 8th time he's ridden. This is a commercial for a balanced ride saddle. Colt's name is Willie's Lily. That's a hell of a name to hang on a good horse. Pete's posting in rhythm with the horse's left front foot. This makes the horse, by nature, by rhythm, go off into a right lead. Watch how natural the colt is going. Watch how wide Pete gets his hands when it's necessary to turn the colt's head. That lead thing means so much. Always get the correct lead. Work at it. Set it up to get it.
Here Pete
Here he
does
does the same
from the
lead
left
roll.
lead to the right lead. It's
No, I'm sorry, it's a roll back, a roll away we call it. Rolling away from the lead you're on.
Same thing, a roll away from the
Hits the
right
colt
lead
in
to
the
the left lead. Hits the colt in the
right
right
side
lead.
to make
Come
the
out
colt come out level.
Here he does the same lead roll, come out the
Same
opposite
lead roll here, jump out in the other lead. Watch again, another same lead roll, jump out in the right lead. How about that for 8 times of being ridden? Just think of how much time people waste on their horses when they don't know how to use the leads. Everything a horse does at a gallop is affected with awkwardness or agility in leads.
When ignorance is in the saddle, it's 80% awkwardness, 20% agility.
Flying changes. Watch him stay to the left side, change to the right lead. Bend the colt around. We don't ever just pull up and stop one when we're at this stage of training. We like to go outside and ride our horses. Don't like to do very much work inside arenas and all that. We have a good ground to work on. It's sandy loam, and even though we're about 7,000 feet altitude, we still can work our horses around 320 days out of the year outside on the average. Run your colt. Bump them together. Do flying changes. Let them know that they're not going to be hurt anyway or contradicted. Bend them around to stop them. Pete McAleenan and Gary Foreman. We use a drop nose band to keep a horse from mouthing into the bit and chewing on it, but it also keeps from pulling the bit into the horse's mouth, as you'll see later on. Here's Susan Baker riding Warrior's Dream, my 1967 world's champion Pinto reining and working cow horse. You notice that she's stopping with a snaffle with no leverage. When she raises her hands, then horse starts stopping. He gets off on the Indian side. Then she stays on top of the horse and sets him down with a snaffle. No leverage. These movies were taken at Stillwater, Oklahoma, at Duke Cooper's ranch. No slide shoes, no slide ground. A lot of people don't know what a snaffle is. A snaffle means actually no leverage. It doesn't make any difference about the mouthpieces in it. This one is a round ring snaffle. What do you want out of it? First of all, you want turn control, or lateral control it's called, to be able to pull the horse's head the way that you want him to go. People ask us every once in a while why we don't use more round snaffles. Well, it goes into a horse's mouth too easily. A D snaffle will also go into a horse's mouth if you have to use it with enough force. To prevent this, put you a strap on like that, and you can't pull it into the horse's mouth very far then. Another thing is put a drop nose band on your horse, and that prevents the bit from getting into the horse's mouth when you have to use enough force to really turn a hard horse around. You don't want to tighten it up too tight to start off with. Leave it kind of loose. Here's another kind of snaffle bit that we use. It's called a Springsteen snaffle. A lot of times in our clinics we have some little girl on a real tough mouth, tough, big-headed old horse that you can't turn around. But when we do this, we use a Springsteen snaffle, which is what they call a run-out bit on the racetrack. See that little iron spoon there on the side? When you pull on it, it makes the horse, it goes against the horse's bone in his jaw, and it makes him turn around a little bit easier.
When we have this problem in clinics, we put a foreman instructor demonstrator on the horse. They turn and bend the horse around this way to get him to turn him without fighting his head. And his turnability becomes very apparent. A Springsteen snaffle is very effective. A high majority of Western riders do not know what a snaffle bit really is. There has never been any actual technology authoritatively written concerning Western equipment, and people believe that any bit with a jointed mouthpiece is a snaffle. Not so. Snaffle means no leverage. This is not a snaffle. It's actually a jointed mouthpiece, loose jaw, leverage bit. When the rider pulls on the lower part of the shank laterally, notice how the top of the shank shows into the skin over the horse's teeth. Oh, it sure causes a lot of head fighting. Old Brushy here is trying to give to it because he knows we're not going to hurt him. And he gives around pretty good. But look at the pain that this causes this black horse.
Trying to make a horse learn to ride and guide, you can see what kind of troubles. The horse is just in intense pain each time the rider pulls him around. Instead of training the horse to do what you want him to do, you're unhinging his mind.
This is a demonstration of riders who have manure for brains. The poor old horse don't have a chance to do anything right. Just look at the intense pain that he's having to go through. Poor horses do have to take an awful lot. A lot of old fuddy-duddies say, well, I don't ever pull my horses around like that. I neck rein them. Sounds authoritative. But the trouble is that most of these people that talk like that never had a horse that ever did rein or handle or turn around in 40 acres. This is Serena Thorson, one of the heads of the 4-H clubs in Wyoming. She brought this colt with her, and the people who own the colt wanted him to be ridden in one of those jointed mouthpiece, swivel-jawed, old long shank bits. Notice how all of the time, every time she tries to rein this colt anywhere, it goes up in the air, it's fighting his head all of the time. It has a powerful lot of leverage on it, and so much of it is contradictory. Each time that you turn, he's set to fight his head, it goes up in the air. Always the turning problems. Backing up, fights his head about it. This is called a tom-thumb bit, but all it is, it has a shorter shank than the other bit, and it's still a jointed mouthpiece, leverage bit, and it is absolutely not a snaffle bit. This used to be called a grazing bit because the drop-back shanks there allowed a horse to graze pretty well without interference. Nowadays, if you pull on one of these bits laterally, it goes sideways in the horse's mouth, and again, the shank at the bridle ring goes in the side of the horse's jaws. When the rider tries to pull the horse's head to the left, it makes the horse flip his head to the right instead. Watch here. Here's an honest-to-God cowboy from up in South Dakota. Watch when he pulls on his right rein. See how it makes the horse flip his head out to the left. Now watch the same thing on the other side. Makes him flip his head out to the left when he's going, try to get him to go right. They don't. So you kind of have to remember that a drop-back shank like this just does not have any lateral control. It makes the horse flip his head the wrong way. The most trouble with bitting is that there's so many bits that pinch the corners of a horse's lips. Right here where the finger is, over the top of the bit bar there, when you pull on your curb shanks, that pulls that bar up in the horse's mouth towards his ears, which flares his lips. And then the curb chain or the curb strap traps that flare in the lips between the bit bar, and it pinches the stuffings out of the sides of the horse's lips. He throws his head up and fights the lip pinching. Riders that have this trouble used to put a tie down on the horse's head to keep him from hitting him in the face with his head. However, this doesn't eliminate the lip pinching, which causes so much head fighting. If you take the tie down off, the head fighting is still there. A tie down just does not teach a horse to keep his head down. A running martingale adjusted correctly will make the horse learn to use his head in the way that will balance him the best. Here the rider wants to go to the right, but the horse wants to go to the left. So the rider changes over and went to the left. Now he neck reins too severely, and it makes the horse stick his head out to the left when you're asking the horse to go to the right. You go to gymkhanas and barrel races, and you see so many old horses that are upset on account of these pinching bits. Oh, whoa, horse. So lip pinching bits cause an awful lot of trouble. There's a lot of pain. Causes horses to be so upset.
Here's another lip pinching bit. The drop back curb loop there does not clear enough, and that will cause that little old buckle there to really get a hold of a horse's lips. especially when he throws his head way up high and you yank on it. On this, what is miscalled the cowboy snaffle, which is really a jointed mouthpiece, swivel cheek leverage or curb bit, it's very bad. So we go on and on wearing these lip pinching bits and trouble. Here's the first of the non-lip pinching bits that's ever made. It was patented way back about 1924 by a gentleman from Littleton, Colorado. In his patent, he said this was a polo training bit, but he left out one of the main things that goes with polo is a snaffle ring to go along with the bit. And so the bit wasn't successful, and no one knew what it was for, and gradually, after about 25 or 30 years, the bit company quit manufacturing. So when I wanted to get me a bit that was very versatile, that I could use with lateral control and then have curb control on the horse to be able to put his head down and whoa when I wanted to. And I sure didn't want it to be pinching the corners of his lips. So this is the bit that I finally developed, and we call it the Foreman Versatile. If you pull on the bit, see how you can make the horse tuck his head. You don't have that lip pinching problem in there, and so a horse learns to give his head just pretty easy. Use your hand like a kind of like a running martingale there, and it makes it work a little bit better for you. The mare that I'm riding there is Tequez Lady 81, 1967 Senior Youth Activities Western Riding Champion of the Nation for the American Quarter Horse Association. You'll see the girl who rode this mare in a little bit in another demonstration. But as I want in my bits, I don't want to have to be going back to the barns and picking up another bit to do this and do that, because most of all that's ridiculous anyway. This bit here, we can take the curb rein, run it from the inside there to the outside, and it makes into a bar snaffle bit. Now, if we got a horse that's upset or he tries to buck or run off with us, we can go down that rein and bend him around and make him turn where we want to and quiet him down as a rule. See, that's the way to do it. Go from the inside to the outside. Works very well. In all of my experience in horses, I have never seen anything that it comes close to using 4 reins actually on a horse. Actually, it's 2 reins, but you have a snaffle there to do your lateral control by force, and you have the curb to make the horse give his head to you, or the brakes. You carry the reins, the snaffles on the outsides, on the left and then the right of your fingers, and the curbs on the inside.
This is nothing new. The polo people have been using double reins this way for over 100 years.
Except they didn't have a good bit that didn't pinch the corners of the horse's lips. This is the original Tom Thumb bit. Now this one here has a rubber mouthpiece, and that makes even more susceptible for their lips to be pinched. However, the people got by this all of these many years because so much of the power that they were using was equally distributed between the curb and the snaffle bit. Look how that pinch is gathered up by the curb chain there. All of these English bits pinch. In fact, every bit nearly that doesn't have a drop-back, non-pinch curb loop built into it.
The drop-back, no-lip pinch curb loop is the only improvement in bitting for over 100 years.
Oh, I've traveled a many mile with these kind of polo pelhams, but they too are pinching delegations. Watch how closely right there at the bit bar, how that curb chain wraps around the lips there, and you can see why so many old polo ponies are running out there plunging and popping their heads and fighting their heads sideways. You take up the curb chain a little shorter and it helps it out some, but most of the time it's about like this, which is the horse show rules on it, 2 fingers between the curb chain and the horse's chins. Oh, I'd love to have something like this to play polo and train polo ponies with for the 23 years that I was in that game. Watch how easy this horse gives his head. This is the long shank Foreman Versatile bit. No problem with the pinching. You can do it very lightly.
This is the medium shank Foreman Versatile bit with approximately 6-inch shanks. I like it much better than the long shanks, and always in polo you have to use a tie down.
But that was a good combination. Here's Nifty Rebel, 1967, reigning champion of the world in the senior youth activities for the American Quarter Horse Association. She's the only mare that's carried a girl to the reigning championship of the nation for the senior youth activities, I think. I'm not positive about it, but I've never heard of another girl that has won it for the year. Here's my son Gary Foreman, age 15, on Nifty Rebel, training her. And
this is the first time she's ever had a Foreman Versatile bit on her with 4 reins.
2 sets of reins. He's doing reverse drop to trot changes. Here comes a flying change now. Another reverse flying change. Circle. Always watching that lead agility. This is a roll away. He's in the left lead. He rolls away from the left lead to the right lead, comes out in the right lead. Right lead, roll away to the left lead. Left lead, roll away to the right lead. No waste motion. She's fussing with her head a little bit, but at least she's not being pinched, and it didn't take long to eliminate all of that head movement. Same lead roll out the other lead. A right lead, she's going to roll to the right lead, jump out in the left lead. Well, almost. Here she makes it all right. Left lead, out in the right lead. Right lead, roll to the right, out in the left lead. How about that? That's what makes the world's champions. Making one real handy. Great mare. Now, the polo people's not the only ones that ever used 4 reins. The Californians did this for years and years. They never developed like the polo players at all did, and this a hackamore like this on the horse has no lateral control. It skins up the horse's jaws underneath, and a spade bit, particularly with a spoon in there, is a pretty rough thing and to put on a horse. I've never seen one yet that the horse didn't have to work in spite of it, not because of it. This is a friend of ours, Al Zupan, from up close to San Francisco.
Al's been with us in 2 clinics at Walnut Creek before.
He's stopping and spinning this mare around. But they don't pay any attention to leads and on the spins and coming out and stuff like that yet. Even today. On his stops, I would grade him about a 60%. His spins, I will run 80 to 90s. We grade according to percentage of each thing that the horse does. Al Zupan had a little Appaloosa mare that he couldn't get to stop. So here's the foreman instructor demonstrator, Susie Baker, on the mare. Here's the second stop that she's done on it. No, she's got 2 sets of reins on there. And she stopped the mare a few more times. She got her stopping like this. And we got Al hitting the same kind of lick with her. How about that? That's what you call jobbing the tail on the ground. This is a hard place to stop, too. It's sand lets a horse's hind feet go right on down in it.
Which jerks the horse's hind feet out from under him.
Al Zupan, Livermore. Here's Tequez Lady 81 again, and the girl that took her to the Senior Youth Activities Western Riding Championship, the Quarter Horse Association. This is Mona Sue Cooper, now Mona Sue Alexander. She's demonstrating there how the stirrups on one of these Foreman balanced ride saddles will take up to accommodate a person with short legs, or let out to fit anybody that's about 6'4" long. Showing here how the reins go together and how the running martingale hooks. And both reins, both curb and snaffle reins, go through the running martingale rings. The man helping worked his way through Oklahoma State by working for Duke Cooper, and he is now a veterinarian in North Carolina, I believe. This is about a year after Duke Cooper had bought this little mare for Mona Sue's ride and show. She had been my exhibition mare for about 3.5 years. I'd carried her across the United States 3 times, from ocean to ocean and border to border. We had trouble keeping Mona Sue off of the front end of the saddle. She wanted to get too far forward. After a little while, she got all right. Mare changes, leads real good. Although if you lean in the way you want to go, the horse will change in the front lead, but won't change behind. This is what happened right here. Mona Sue didn't know she was out behind then. The mare's real handy. She does a lot of things very well. She can run. She's really a good calf roping mare. She can run pretty good barrels, poles. But Western riding is her main thing. She can rein just a little bit too. Won an awful lot of reignings. After she was AQHA national champion in Western riding, I think for 11 years in a row, she was Western riding champion of the Oklahoma Quarter Horse Association. And several times she was high point for the year, either in junior youth activities or senior youth activities. With the 4 reins set up like this, a horse just doesn't sour out. They just keep on getting better and better if the rider has the knowledge and is able to do it.
Of all the Gymkhana riders I've ever known, this is the best. His name is John S. Heiler. He's from Ojai, California, and Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where he owns a ranch. He has won the High Point Gymkhana Championship at the Pacific Coast 3 different times on 3 different horses. This is El Paso Gap, his second horse. Look at all of the winnings that he's done in just 1 year at shows. At 22 shows in only 1 year.
22 high points at shows in 1 year. Notice that he's got Foreman Versto bits. He's also got himself a brand new Foreman saddle. He had me draw his picture on the fender of it. Brand new saddle, never been on a horse before. Here he is contesting on it. He ran this keyhole race by over a second. Notice how quiet the horse goes. You can guide so much better at high speeds with this kind of a rig than you can with a curb by itself. Actually, a curb by itself works against the horse's nature. Notice how quiet old El Paso Gap is. With this, awful lot of waist motion here. Natural for the rider, but it doesn't get the most technology from the horse. Notice how Jack's up off of his seat slightly. He doesn't hang on to the saddle horn. Got a set of reins in each hand. Notice how easy he is on the horse. Jack's been in clinics with us for 12 years. And he sponsored clinics both here at Ojai and up in Jackson, Wyoming, where he was born and raised. He's assistant dean of the Thatcher School at Ojai, California. He knocked a pole down here, but that didn't keep him from being high point for the day.
The following weekend, he was also high point at the Ventura show. 2 great champions, John Heiler and El Paso Gap. Here's 2 more of our favorite people, Michael Joe Carmichael and Nelda Carmichael, his wife.
This is Nelda Carmichael, his wife. She's been barrel racing champion of California 2 times. She's been in clinics with us quite a bit, and she's been instructed quite a bit by Pete McAleenan, who is one of our accredited instructors out there in California. We took these movies to see if we couldn't help her knock a few tenths of seconds off of her barrel run. See, she neck reined too much and the horse went too wide. Watch the horse dive in here. And see, she's just using curb reins by itself. She has no lateral control. And so you have to depend on a horse to go where you want him to go, because you can't force him to go there like you can with the polo rein set up. Here he comes around a little bit better. Changes leads 3 times here before he turns the barrel. That wastes tenths of a second. Nelda Zoe bought this balustrade saddle that she's on 2 or 3 years before this anyway, and Michael Joe and Gary Mao got to ride in the saddle and found out how they were so much more efficient than other saddles, and both of them started taking Nelda's saddle away from her. Here she's on the Heelan horse, Old Yeller, and he always popped out a lead every time he make a turn. He'd pop out in the hind leads. Here she got a fair stop out of him. And so I had her going around these poles there, making the horse stay in lead. He got to where he's real good at it. He became Heelan champion of the world the next year. Here's these two top professionals going at it. That's Michael Joe Carmichael Hidden, Gary Mao Heelan. The tally of the amount of money won over the year, Gary Mao won over his partner there, Joe Carmichael, by $2.17. Just watch how Old Yeller's putting him up there to the right place at the right time. Of course, Mama Carmichael has to turn out the cattle. Watch Joe get the horns and Gary get the heels. They were 27 head of stock when I took these movies and never missed a horn nor heel. That's roping. This is Gary Mao. Strange, both of these boys won this championships on balanced ride saddles, and they were swell forks with dally horns on it. That's kind of exceptional. Both of them got round forks, I think, now.
Both used Foreman Burstall bits. So, when you're bitting a horse, you don't want to put something that's a lip-pinching old thing on his head to make him excited. But this old mare didn't need to go to sleep during this demonstration.
You have to learn to carry those reins a little bit different while you're training, but it's not all that hard. They come actually in 4 different shanks. The long shank on the right there, and then the English bit there, it's about the same, equal to the one on the right.
The long shank on the right is about approximately 8 inches in shank, and the English bit on the left is approximately the same. We never use any of these 2 bits without 4 reins.
I bet I would even stretch a horse's ribs. But most of the things that we recommend and we use is the regular on the right-hand side and the shorty on the left-hand side. In ports, we use this low port, pretty good bit. I would say that over 90% of the horses work on this low port. In other words, half of the horse's tongue goes up into that port and then receives pressure, and then the other pressure is on the bars of the horse's mouth on each side. We do have it in different mouthpieces, but mostly the bits that are sold, over 90% are the low port regulars. Then the regular here on the right is about 6 inches, and then the shorty, as we call it, on the left there is 4 inches, or thereabouts.
Now that skylight in back of you there on the door is going to affect you a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, turn his head this way, Gary.
Okay, cut. All right. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm taking.
All right. All right, now take a hold of it and just make him give it to you. That's fine. Fine. Couldn't ask for any better demonstration than that. Whoa, now. Move forward close up on his head shot. Close up on the bit as you possibly can. Whoa. Have you got a close up on the bit?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Gary. Take hold of him. Make him give his head to you.
Back up.
Yeah, and back him a little bit if you want to. Oh, that's for good. Cut.
Ready?
Yep.
Take it.
Oh, it's a dang shame that youth is wasted on young people.
Most of the things that we recommend and we use is the regular on the right-hand side and the shorty on the left-hand side. We never use a long shank by itself as a curb. Always the medium shanks and the shorties when you go on one set of reins. No lip pinching, no lip stretching, no contradicting.
Here's a friend of ours named Manuel Cardoza, who for many years made his living breaking horses that other horse trainers couldn't break. This is his place out of Hollister, California. Manuel is a weird character. This is the sixth time this mule has ever been ridden. I don't know why he's got that Mexican hat on him. He's not even a Mexican. He's a Portuguese. Oh, the hat's for his Mexican hat dance. Manuel says that he's got enough equipment on this mule to make him run automatic. Look where he's got his back cinch, mule's flanks. Got a crupper on the mule too to keep the saddle from sliding over the mule's low withers. Got a Foreman versatile bit on there with 4 reins, a drop nose bend, running martingale. Oh Lord. Manuel says that any Jaysack can put enough of right kind of working equipment on his Jaysack and make the Jaysack work a whole lot better. Well, that's bidding, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it.